God our Father, as we gather for this meeting this evening, give us guidance and wisdom to make the proper decisions. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Cressy, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Lloyd? Here. Mr. Waddington?
Here.
Ms. Twine? Here. Mr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Brady? Here. Mr. Poole? Here. Mr. Lockhart?
Here. Commissioners, you have before you the minutes of our meeting of March 27, 2017. What is your preference?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
I move that we accept the minutes of the March 27th meeting and dispense with the formal reading.
Second.
Been a motion, second discussion. Objection, the motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, the motion is approved. Turn now to audience participation. Anyone having any comments regarding the regular pieces of legislation and resolutions, please step to the microphone, give us your name and address, and share with us your thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. Whose cell phone was that? The only question I have is on the regular agenda item number 3 is the expenditure of $135,000 for in-house street repairs. And my question would be, when you get to that portion, is what streets did we do in 2016 in-house with our own labor, and how many streets and which streets in 2017 are scheduled to be done in-house with that money? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else present wishing to speak to any of the regular agenda items?
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Tim Brown, I live at 1208 Ashburn Drive. Just want to thank the Commissioners for getting back to me with my concern I had about the park. And I just thank them for their prompt response back to me, and we'll see how it moves from here.
Mr. Brown. Anyone wishing to address the agenda items tonight? Not, then we will begin with Mr. Klein, who seems to be dominating our entire meeting tonight. But he's going to present the capital improvements plan. And as a reminder, we began this last year, and this is the second year. I think we're all pretty appreciative of the document and the additional details that you've layered onto it this year. Mr. Klein.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for the input, allowing me to get up here and speak about the effort put in this year. I'll try to be brief, as I always do. I can't guarantee it, but I'll try my hardest.
We'll help you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Effort.
Mr. Klein, try to be interesting also.
He's a good sport.
So I also want to thank the department heads. Every year they put in a lot of effort, get me a lot of information. And this document could not happen without those department heads and without all the planning processes and everything that go on an annual basis. This year we added a new planning process to this, and that was the neighborhood initiative. So the information from the neighborhood initiative is also included in the document this year. For the people at home, I don't want to go through this in detail and explain what the document actually is. What I'd like to do this year is maybe give a brief overview of it, maybe 30 seconds, and then go into the actual projects and show people what projects we're doing, where we're actually putting our money this year. So this document was created for the capital, the O&M, the operation and maintenance, the daily operation of the city that was approved at last commission meeting. So this is kind of the infrastructure improvements, the larger projects, the capital projects that we're going to be doing, and it lists them out for 5 years. I want to reiterate, this is a planning document. What's in here is not set in stone. It's on the agenda tonight for commission approval. It's not set in stone. This is a planning document. We still have to come to the commission for every single project that's listed in here, get approval for every single project. So there will be public involvement for each one of these. And the other thing, the costs in here are estimates. We have not gone out, we have not bid these projects. They are estimates, so they are subject to change. Obviously, the projects later on, 2020, 2021, those might be a little more inexact because of market changes, modifications to oil and things like that for our resurfacing projects. Okay, so let's get started. There we go. Okay, so first and foremost, the modifications that we made from last year are very simple. Being that I'm an engineer, as was pointed out earlier, it was a little more difficult to understand. The language was simplified quite a bit more by Elizabeth, who joined our office later in the year. And she also has an eye, a little better eye than I do for the images. So she was able to coordinate those a lot better than I could. So hopefully you get a more user-friendly document out of it this year. Okay, so now jumping right into the projects. I know these slides are very difficult to see. We have several extra copies of the actual document itself here today. If anybody's interested, they're on the back table back here. So if anybody wants to see it to follow along, feel free. Okay, so the first section is the economic development that I'd like to point out. And I want to pause on this because I think it's very important to note that even though this is called economic development, and the next slide you'll see is called neighborhoods, I think it's very important to note that pretty much every project listed in here is geared around economic development and neighborhoods. What you're seeing on this document, what you're seeing on this page, which is pages 16 and 18, are those programs presented by the Economic Development Department, such as facade improvements, large-scale gap financing, the demolition projects, the American Cran, those types of things. So it's very important to understand that even though when we get later in this document, it might not look like we have that much funding specifically set up for economic development, or on this slide for neighborhoods, pretty much every dollar that's in here is going towards economic development in neighborhoods. But the difference is in this neighborhood section, if you scroll down through these projects, you'll see that they're more housing-oriented projects. There's things in here, down payment assistance, exterior home repairs, substantial housing repairs, landscaping, those programs that are either being introduced, that City Manager Whoopser introduced at the State of the City, and we've worked with the Community Development and Planning Department to make sure that those funds were allocated appropriately in this document. So you'll see every year there's going to be a set allocation that continues annually for that 5-year period, as was promised in the State of the City. I was going to use a pointer, but I don't think anybody could see it anyway, so I'll skip that. What I'd like to point out here is that, reiterating that the projects that are included in this document are specific to the neighborhood. I may not have allocated it under that neighborhood section, but they are included throughout the document. As you can see, these are the 6 Sandusky Neighborhood Initiative neighborhoods. And in the Cove District in 2020, you'll see the Meg Street project, and you'll see the Sandusky Bay Pathway. And I'll get to that a little bit later. The 1st through 5th Street, you'll see the Sandusky Bay Pathway. One of the reasons I didn't have as much for the 1st through 5th is because we just resurfaced a lot of that area. We just did 5th Street, we did 1st Street a couple years ago. And a lot of the things that are in that 1st through 5th Street area were the pathway, or they were gateway type projects, you know, that placemaking type project. The Garden District, we've got the Healthy Haze in there, and we've got the Central Park. You'll see several more projects in there, but I just wanted to highlight those two. Those are in 19 and 18. The Midtown, which is that south of the Kilbourne, we've got Campbell Street, which you'll see being done this year. That includes that intersection with Scott and Columbus, doing improvements for the walkability at that intersection, which we heard a lot about. Then you'll see in 2018, we have the design for the J.C. Park and that pedestrian trail that's supposed to connect J.C. Park up through Huron and then to the Sandusky Bay pathway. So we have that project for that midtown. Then the south side, the big one there is the American Cran and Churchwell Park. And you'll see Churchwell Park broken out into two different phases. Phase one to do those quick hitting projects that we want to do along with the master plan in 2018. And then in 2019, you'll see some of those other later projects. And on the west end, you have Lions Park and Venice Road. And I'll get to that Venice Road project a little bit more in detail in a minute. Okay, so on the Parks and Recreation, what you'll see if you look under each year, you'll see $500,000 allocated for the Sandusky Bay pathway. That it too was a promise that was made at the state of the city. So we've made sure to address that in the document starting in 2018. We also have $25,000 set aside for bike infrastructure. Those are those neighborhood type bike projects, might be Sharrows, different things like that, to get those local residents to the Sandusky Bay pathway eventually and create that bike network within the city. You'll also see several master plans. Those are intended more for the larger parks. The smaller parks might not have a master plan associated with it. I'm thinking of Central, maybe Venice. There are improvements associated with those, but those are ones that in discussions internally decided we could improve a lot of the infrastructure that's already there rather than doing a large master planning process for that. Provisions, just touching on this, one of the things I'd like to point out is this is going to be your trucks, your facilities, those types of things. But one of the things I'd like to point out is how Interim Chief D'Amico approached me as soon as he got on. He said, I want to understand this document. I want to know what this document's saying, and I want to make sure that we have our allocation and that we have everything that we feel that we need. So he was very proactive in getting to me on this and making sure that the needs of his department are included in this document, as he and the firefighters and the others that he had spoken to had mentioned. Now, things like the salt trucks that were purchased last year, because that's a debt service, those rolled into the O&M. Those were included in the O&M, but that amount, that $50,000 annual payment, is deducted from what we had originally allocated from provisions from vehicles, and that includes police cruisers. The thing I'd like to point out on this sewer and water main one, what you'll see on the screen is the water main project. And again, the spreadsheet for the water mains, it's going to be hard to see, but partway down the screen, partway down 2017, you'll see a project called Venice, Linden, Sagamore, and the West Side Walkability. That is the project I referred to earlier, that neighborhood project. This document is allowing us to coordinate several different projects into one initiative. That project includes a storm sewer in the Linden and Sagamore area, just south of Venice, south of Edgewater and along Edgewater. A water line project that we've had a lot of problems with over the years on Venice to help TOFs and those other industries out there. And we're also going to include a design for that west side walkability that we heard from the neighborhood initiative and we heard through the bicentennial planning for the city. So we have all of that included in here. I'm showing it under public grants and financing. The majority of the project is sewer and water. So we're going to do the majority of that. If not, we're going to have to figure out a way to, maybe we can include that into that public financing piece. And then in 2018, you see it being constructed. Another thing that I wanted to point out, if you look under 2020, you'll have the Mills Street, under 2020, not on the screen, but it'll be in your handout. Under the sewer, we have a Mills Street high rate treatment. That's a project that's EPA required project based on our long-term control plan discussions. And what that is that's looking at doing another holding tank for the plant. So included in that project, we're also looking at AMVETs and how we can deal with AMVETs, what we can do in that ballpark area, if we can combine them. So we're combining those two projects, the sewer and that parks project, together to make sure we come up with a comprehensive plan that suits both needs, as opposed to just doing them individually and separately. Now for the one I think most people are interested in, and I'll touch on Mr. Schwanger's question from earlier, and that's the streets. On this one, I think what I'd like to do is explain what we have set up annually, and then even get into the streets that we're looking at doing over the next 5 years. Again, these are projections. These are what we're intending to do, but it's not set in stone. So annually, we have the $100,000 for sidewalks. We have the urban forest project. We have the surface sealing, which is going to preserve those streets. But more importantly, we have those street resurfacing and reconstruction projects. The first one that we're looking at doing this year is the Venice Heights Boulevard. We're most of the way done with that. We got a culvert that goes under the road too. We've got to get some easements, and we'll be coming back to commission hopefully in the next few months for that one. Campbell, that's the project we got OPWC funds for. That's going to go from the railroad tracks all the way up to Columbus, including that intersection. You've already approved design for Gartland. That included a complete reconstruction from right-of-way to right-of-way. Lincoln, which we'll discuss hopefully soon about that. And then we've got a Cleveland Road analysis included in 2017, and that's just touching on things. You'll see the last one there is that in-house paving projects, and I added the basketball courts to that one as well. What that is that's the promise we made for basketball courts. That's, if you can,
Where's it
it
at?
doesn't show up on the screen. The last project under 2017, that's what's included on the agenda today for asphalt. It says in-house paving projects, basketball courts. We've got 75,000 set up so that when we're doing patching, resurfacing, those types of projects that pop up in the middle of the year, similar to the ones that popped up in the middle of last year, we can move quickly on getting those addressed rather than having to wait a month or 2 months to get that asphalt. 2018, we're going to focus on the west end, looking at Bardshar, McCartney, Church, Niagara, Oak, Barrett, that whole west end. And then 2019, you'll see Shoreline Drive, Healthy Hayes, and then that Pierce, Thomas, and Rockwell area are show up in there, and we timed that one for the demolition of American Cran. 2020, we've already got the money for Meg Street. One of the things that's complicating 2020 and 2021, ODOT has 2 large projects that they're doing. They're resurfacing the entire US 6 from east to west over 2 years, and we have to pay nearly 50%, so that's kind of a mandated project that we have to contribute towards that we don't really have. We can't do the in-house projects, those local resurfacing projects we intended to, because we have to put that 1.2 million over 2 years towards that. Next one, technology. I think I'll skip that. And then looking at the last 2 sheets, on pages, it's actually in the middle of the document that you guys have, pages 12 and 14. These summarize everything I just discussed. You'll see a bar chart in there that summarizes all 5 years. And then you'll see a pie chart that only summarizes 2017. And the 2017, we now have the percentages on that pie chart. So it shows where that money is being allocated over that 1-year period or over that 5-year period. And if anybody has, you can see on here at this one, this is the 2017 breakdown. You'll see the majority of it is loans for utility, but there's also a large allocation for issue 8, 15%, and then another 15% for sewers and 12 for the various grants we've already received. So with that, this is the category 1. We've got the provisions, recreation, neighborhoods, all those are included in here. And at that, 20 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, we are looking to get online tomorrow. Have it on the front page of the website tomorrow. We also have documents, hard copies in our office, or we can email it out. It's a rather large document, but if anybody's looking for it at home or anywhere, the contact information is on the screen. So feel free to give us a call, 419-627-5829, and we'll email, or you can come down and pick it up in engineering. So with that, if anybody has any questions,
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Commissioners, questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wallace?
I'd like to thank you, Mr. Klein. I've sat through, I think, 2 or maybe 3 of these that you put on about the 5-year capital plan. It's nice to know that for the first time that I can recall, being on commission before, and Mr. Murray, I believe Mr. Poole or Brady could also comment on this, that we got a sense of direction, and it's flexible, but we're still going forward. I like that. In the past, we've had monies where we designate something, and then we'd switch up 2 months later and put it in another pool. It was like, I like having that, we got some guideposts out going forward. I think this is gonna be good. I understand it's flexible and it could change, but at least I can see down the road, you know, we got some hope or promise now. So I really appreciate it.
Further questions or comments?
Sure.
Mr. Brady?
Mr. Klein, I'm glad that you chose to identify the roads services that we're going to be getting to in 2017. That's probably the singular most asked question that I think all of us get is, when are you going to get to my street? And although there aren't a lot of them there, you and I both know that these dollars do not stretch very far. But thank you for putting this together. I know your job isn't getting any easier, but now you at least you have a format and an outline to plug numbers in. It's meant to be just what it is. It is a dynamic document. As we go forward, you'll pull items in and pull items out, and hopefully we don't have any too big bumps in the road there.
Further questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Poole?
on the slide dealing with West End, I really do, when are we gonna do sidewalks out there on Venice Road? That's really what I'm interested in. I'm not sure what your real plan is. There's money there, and I'm,
Right, through Mr. President, what we were looking at was when we're doing that sewer and water line project, we saw some architectural renderings during the neighborhood initiative that, you know, what those residents wanted to see out there. We're actually going to put the pen to paper and try to get that physical cross-section of the roadway. Is it better going on the north? Is it better going on the south? Where we want it to be, where it should be, to get people from, you know, obviously from the residential area all the way to Lions Park, but our project, being that it's on Venice Road, we're hoping to be able to incorporate during the design and construction that walkway or bike path from the farthest western limit we can possibly go with our sewer and water project to the intersection of Edgewater, and then we just have a short way to go up Edgewater and maybe extend it a little bit farther to the west. And that project we're intending to construct in 2018.
okay. And so from Edgewater to Tiffin, that's not really on the agenda?
Not on that
Not on
project.
there at this point, okay. Basketball courts, concept of what they're gonna look like, I'm not sure what you're doing. I see there's money there for resurfacing any, have we studied what we're gonna do yet?
Yes, we're looking at doing it either in-house or seeing what cost it would come back with for Erie Blacktop or Gherkin or somebody to do it. The intent was to do it in-house. We're trying to weigh our options before we just dive in and make sure we do it the most cost-effective way. So we've got the dimensions from Public Service Director Link, and we're moving forward with that once we get a price.
That's just, I presume you're talking about a single court, or the details haven't been worked out yet, or we're gonna deal with those down the road before you get started?
The one that I know of, and I'm sure somebody else may be able to speak on this, the one that I've been directed to do is the one at Orlando Pace Park. Putting others in elsewhere, that's part of what that $75,000 could be used for, is if we have other courts that we're doing or small resurfacing projects similar to last year.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Klein, I would just like to say, you know, a couple of things. One, of course, as you indicated at the beginning, each and every one of these projects over $10,000 will come back to the commission for full deliberation and discussion at that point in time. But this is very useful as a planning document. I think the public and I think the commission can take a great deal of comfort in the fact that, you know, some of the examples you gave, we don't want to put something in and then come along 2 years later, tear it up and do something else. And so This is a phenomenal amount of money that we're investing in all aspects of city activity, whether it's streets or parks, sewer, water. I mean, it gives you a sense of the tremendous scope of what a city has to do, and has to do all those things all at the same time, and we're expected to do them well. And what's great about this document is it can assure us that you've got that level of coordination across departments. We don't have a bunch of siloed departments that are saying, we'll spend this, and then, we'll do this, and we're not going to talk with streets, or we're not going to talk with sewer, or we're not going to talk with water, because you've got plans that conflict potentially with that. So I'm, as Mr. Waddington indicated, I feel so much better now that we have this roadmap ahead. Again, it's flexible, but this is really about the efficient deployment of our dollars too.
You struck a couple other points that I forgot to mention. First, we use this document to coordinate with all of the other utilities. We have a meeting annually with Columbia Gas, Ohio Edison, and we get everybody together to coordinate all of the infrastructure so they know what we have. Occasionally it'll happen, like on Fifth Street last year, but the project we did on McKelvey and Franklin and Neal last year, because of this document, Columbia Gas came in and did a project at the intersection of Neal and Franklin before the project that they're doing this year that they're getting ready to start, because they knew that we were going to be doing that project. So it was nice being able to coordinate with them. The other thing that I think is very important that I forgot to mention is that all of the sewer and water projects listed in here have been incorporated into that rate study that we did a couple years ago. We've had to push some projects back. We've had to reprioritize based on that. But I want to assure everybody that we are looking at when I do this document, I am looking at the sewer and water rates as well to make sure that we're not throwing too much in there, or we're not doing what we told the residents that we were going to be doing, and we're not just sitting on a lot of cash flow coming in. So,
Thank you, Mr. Klein. We'll vote on this later on in the evening. Next, we have a presentation from Amanda Rasnick with Lake Erie Shores and Islands about the Dragons and Bacon inaugural event.
I apologize, I'm not Amanda, I'm Jason. We just got over our, we were unsuccessful in our attempt to hide about 3,000 Easter eggs over the weekend. About 200 3 to 8-year-old kids went and found them all. But this is sort of a different event that we, probably good timing after Aaron's presentation to talk about bacon. It's pretty popular nowadays. But what we're doing is we're entering into an agreement with Great White Northern Communications, GWN Dragon Boat's easier way to say it, with an event this September 16th, utilizing Sandusky Bay with these aren't dragon boats, these are actually canoes. But you'll see a video that it's going to be an event, and the only way to really show you what dragon boats are is to show you a video. So any questions on this, just let me know after this. We can play it. Oh, do I need the thing? Is that how we do it? Oh. I'm new here.
Paddling down the lazy river is just the ticket, but for others, dragon boat racing is the rush they've been waiting for. Racing has it all. Competitiveness, teamwork, excitement, all combined to create a great day on the water and memories to last a lifetime. today for a Walgreens Major League Dragon Boat event at GWNDragonBoat.com. Enjoy!
So Amanda and Victoria, you found them at a conference, a recent conference, I believe is, I'm sorry.
Victoria and I partnered and went to the National Association of Sports Commissions last year and met with GWN, and it was a perfect opportunity between the city and the whole destination, so.
And now what you won't see in the video is the bacon part of the event. So it's dragons and bacon. We're gonna have all sorts of food vendors, anything that involves, they have to have some sort of dish or food that has bacon. So if you know anybody out there that serves a great bacon dish, I see a lot of smiles. People do like bacon, and then now they're gonna like dragons and bacon. So it'll be September 16th.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments, commissioners?
Are we gonna have a commission team?
Sign me up.
You'll need 13 more. It's a team of 20.
Well, we'll find some people.
I see you in the book.
Yeah. Like that.
Questions or comments? If not, then thank you for the presentation. Next, we have a presentation by Alan Griffith and Charlie Stevens respectively with the Downtown Sandusky Inc., which is formerly Sandusky Main Streets Association, and Charlie Stevens with Block by Block. And these gentlemen can explain why they're here.
Thank you, Commissioner President. And I am Greg Volz, Assistant Planner here at the City of Sandusky. I'm here to introduce Alan Griffith from Sandusky Main Street, which is now doing business as Downtown Sandusky Inc., and Charlie Stevens from Block by Block, which is a provider of clean and safe programs throughout the country. Alan will be discussing Sandusky Main Street's ongoing strategic planning process and reimagining of the organization into Downtown Sandusky Inc., and how one vital piece of this is implementing a clean and safe program. Charlie from Block by Block will talk about their services, how they help the districts they work in, and the program that has been tentatively created with Downtown Sandusky Inc. Ultimately, this program can be self-sufficient through implementation of a business or special improvement district, and we think a pilot program such as this one about to be discussed is an important step in the process. Thank you, and welcome Alan and Charlie.
Thank you, Greg, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Just really wanted to take the opportunity to update you on an initiative that was first really announced by Eric Wubser in the State of the City address. Sandusky Main Street Association over the last number of months has kind of been reimagining ourselves as to understand what we want our focus to be. And we've made a strategic decision to move away from a focus that Main Street associations typically have of historic preservation and building preservation, and focus more on the other aspect of that, which is as a business development organization for downtown and as a business promotion organization for downtown. And in conversations with the city, I think the general feeling is that we can add a lot more value in that context, given that the historical work is being done well by other organizations in the city. So, assuming I have the technology right here. This really summarizes the vision that we are in the middle of finalizing, but from a strategic perspective, it's really about downtown as a destination and tying that together with the city's strategic plan. There are three elements to that we want to focus on. One is public space management, promotion, programming, and placemaking. And really, today's discussion is about the first of those, public space management. Who are we engaging with and who are we talking to? I mean, really, it's anybody that is downtown, lives downtown, works downtown, visits the downtown area, and is part of the community. And that's residents, that's business owners, that's visitors, property owners, and indeed across the region, across the city, are city residents who come to downtown from the neighborhoods for activities, for events, for whatever it is, and our other communities around us, be it Perkins, Huron, others. And then more broadly, the large number of visitors that we have every year. So we've really tried to engage with elements of all of those groups to get an understanding of what is it that they're looking for downtown and what are some of the things that we can do, especially practically in the short term, to try and create a better place downtown for people to come to. So that brings us to Clean and Safe. Why did we decide on Clean and Safe as really our first strategic initiative that we wanted to undertake? Over the course of 2016 and earlier this year, and between ourselves and Ecadec, we did a lot of kind of just asking questions to people. And one of the themes that kept coming back over and over again was the idea that we wanted to look at the cleanliness and safety of downtown. And it's the little things that come up over and over in terms of small trash items, goose poop, which is clearly a favorite of everyone's, things like graffiti, stickers on posters, things that the city maintenance department would love to be able to do, but quite frankly doesn't have the time to get to do downtown as much as we would all like. And is there a way that we can provide additional resources there to do some of those things? And we'll look at some concrete examples of that later. So that's come about through a number of downtown merchant meetings we've been holding. They've identified the cleanliness of downtown in particular as something they really want to see improved. And we'll be taking other initiatives to do things like working with property owners on storefront facades for empty buildings, et cetera, to try and really make the downtown, particularly the parts of the downtown where the buildings are still underutilized, to make them appear like they're a little bit more utilized than they are. The other big one that was mentioned was during the weekends in the summertime when we have a high number of visitors. Again, we wind up with situations of overflowing trash cans, of litter, of things like that downtown that are just being caused by the volume of people that are there and the fact that it's a Sunday afternoon. And so there are the ways that we can address some of those issues. And the feedback we got was that improvements in these areas would really add confidence, business confidence, both to potential investors and current property owners to invest in their property. And that was significant feedback from them. So what's Clean and Safe? Some of you may have heard of it, many of you may not have. It's a national program that Block by Block, which Charlie will speak to in a bit, runs all across the country and throughout Ohio, and has been very, very successful in other communities. So this quote is a little hard to read, but essentially it says in the city of Duluth, they have a 98% responsiveness from their residents in terms of awareness of the program. Downtown, it's made a significant contribution to the revitalization of the downtown area of Duluth, Minnesota. In South Bend, they see it as a strategic program with the city. And creates and helps them make more efficient use of city resources in terms of improving neighborhoods throughout the city. So that's just two examples of areas where Block by Block and Clean and Safe programs have been very, very successful. Excuse me. So why Block by Block? Our former executive director, Jim Gherkin, visited Columbus last fall to see some of the programs in Columbus. And there are a number of neighborhood initiative programs in Columbus, Clean and Safe programs. And we began discussions with Block by Block in 2016. And from our own analysis, when you look at the numbers, using an outsourcing company like Block by Block is significantly cheaper or more efficient than it is trying to do something like this in-house, because they have the technology in place, they have the training programs in place, some of the other things that Charlie will speak to shortly. So who are Block by Block? As I said, they serve 87 districts in the United States at the moment. They retain 96% of their customers year on year. One of the key elements that was very attractive to us is that they're very data-driven, and they have the ability to provide very good data about the actual minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour activities of their staff and the kinds of things they do. So again, we'll see some examples of this, but essentially they create digital maps of where their people are, where they travel throughout the day, and then they have a very good incident reporting tool that identifies what they were doing. So whether it's graffiti removal or trash pickup or interacting with a local business owner or interacting with a visitor or a resident, all of that is cataloged and tracked and able to provide reports at varying levels of detail on a weekly, monthly, in fact, indeed daily basis as required. So next steps, Downtown Sandusky, Inc. has committed $50,000 of our funds to this pilot program for 2017. We will be coming back to the commissioner at a later date to ask for a matching grant of that sum. In the meantime, the intention for this year is to run a pilot, to get feedback on that pilot, to make sure it's something that we want to do here in Sandusky and that the feedback is positive and that we all feel that it's worth the investment of monies that we're putting in. We will then also in the background be exploring long-term funding options. And so there are a number of initiatives underway there to look at how can we make this sustainable so that it's something that we can continue to do in future years and indeed build on in the community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Charlie Stevens. Charlie is a Vice President at Block by Block, based in Cleveland.
Okay. Well, first, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you. It's a pleasure to talk about what I love, which is providing clean and safe ambassador programs throughout my region, Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, and Michigan. Block by Block is a company that is a national provider, but we started out with a single program in downtown Louisville in 1995. Our founder was Mr. Brantley Security, Brantley Ushering Service. Downtown Louisville Management District approached Mr. Brantley because he provided energetic, hospitality-focused safety, security people, and ushers to join them in building a new program for the downtown Louisville Management District. We were later acquired by a privately owned company, SMS Holdings, out of Nashville, Tennessee, that give us the leverage and the resources to be able to take on big and/or small programs and give you what you need to make your program exceed. It's a map of our current mainland programs. We also have a couple programs off in Hawaii. So we go from Waikiki to Boston, from Duluth, Minnesota, all the way down to Miami, Florida. In my region, the Great Lakes region, in Ohio, we have Toledo, Akron, Cleveland, Dayton, Cincinnati. We also have Detroit and Grand Rapids up in Michigan. We have 2 programs in Pittsburgh. And then, as you saw before, South Bend, Indiana, we have a larger program that has developed very nicely over the years. Cleveland is my largest program and one of our largest programs with Block by Block. And we actually have many sub or satellite programs that run off the main program, including Ohio City, the Detroit Shoreway, North Coast Harbor, University Circle. We even have 2 boats that work in the North Coast Harbor and the Cuyahoga River, cleaning the river. Partnering with the Port Authority. What is an ambassador? I get this question, probably 1,000 times a year, and the best way I can answer that is an ambassador is a friendly face that can either answer your question or find an answer to your question. And when I'm not busy engaging or interacting with a pedestrian or a business owner or a member of the city council or whoever it may be, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to do some cleaning. I'm going to remove some graffiti, power wash some sidewalks, or remove some goose poop, whatever it is to make my district the most comfortable, the most inviting place that can be. We have a motto: we hire for personality and we train for the skills. Oh, and the young lady down there in the center, that's Courtney. She's from Cincinnati. She is just a pistol when it comes to engaging people on the sidewalk. For downtown Sandusky, Mark Lehman, who came from the Downtown Cleveland Alliance, came out and did a thorough review of the city. You have a clean city, but we can help make it a cleaner city. There's attention to detail, whether it be the bench I was sitting on this afternoon and wiping off the pigeon poop and other things that make it a little less inviting for someone with a suit on, to cigarette butts, weeds, pressure washing, getting gum spots off the sidewalks. All of those things make downtown much more appealing. Being there when you need us to be there. So when Saturday night is one of your busy nights during the summer, we're going to make sure we're there not only Saturday, but Sunday morning to help clean it up before the people get up and start moving around. We have many different programs, and hospitality is probably the way to explain how to make a downtown feel safe and clean, is by having, again, that smiling face, to interact with your visitors, to speak to them in an intelligent way, giving good directions, finding for them what they need to enjoy their stay in downtown Sandusky or their visit for the afternoon. These are some pictures. We could walk any street of any downtown, anywhere in the country, and we will find debris in tree grate, in sewer grates and tree grates. We're going to see stickers. But if you think as fast as it's going up, we like to try to get things down within 24 hours, that somebody's coming behind and trying to make all this disappear. The current proposal, or the plan that's being discussed right now, has 2 full-time employees year-round, and then 2 seasonal part-time employees during your busy time. The actual dates could float, but we were looking at that mid-end of May through the September, early October timeframe. I would have to look at your schedule of events to give a better recommendation. It is what we call a hybrid program, where we're going to have one class of ambassador that is providing both cleaning and hospitality services, where they will have the resources to be able to give good answers to good questions and help people who are visiting, living or working in downtown Sandusky. Placemaking is one of those words, phrases that's coming on that takes a lot of different ways in which that happens, but it's being there for the people, helping set up tables, putting banners up, whatever it takes to make people enjoy being here. The scheduling, again, is focused on midday to evening and weekends, but again, we're very flexible. We want to be here when people are here. We want to be here to be a good voice and a picture of downtown Sandusky. We feel it's very important to branding, that we get your name. Downtown Sandusky is out there, so we recommend that the truck that we will put into service, that it be taken advantage of. Here's an example of one of our downtowns taking advantage of wrapping their truck and getting a lot of bang for the buck in doing it. We're recommending a trailer-mounted pressure washer so that we can be doing a lot of sidewalk pressure washing during the summer. The smart system I'll go into in a little bit. It is our proprietary handheld, proprietary software using an iPhone or iTouch, iPad, any product that's out there that uses the iOS. And what that does is it gives us the ability to digitally record on the street as it's happening what we're doing. Now that could be a pedestrian assist, that could be a business contact, that could be identifying a broken fixture that we're going to take a picture of, put the location in, and we can actually preload the system so that it will go right to Brad in the Parks Department. That's something that is his responsibility. We're not trying to tell anybody what to do. We're trying to give people information to help get things done faster, quicker, and put some responsibility on those that are getting the information. We also are able to passively, the system is based on an iPhone that's not turned on. It's not a telephone, it's just a recording device. And then what we'll do is we'll ping the cell towers, and we can actually create a map of where the ambassadors were. And then if something happened, we can actually give you that data point on the map as to where the graffiti tag was, where the accident was, if a car was in an accident, or if, heaven forbid, somebody tripped and fell. We could be there, we can get that information. Business contacts and all the other things that we can do for you in the field, we can provide that information and where it exactly happened. Our goals are always to create a more welcoming and an environment that will help you drive more visitors into downtown Sandusky, improve the perceptions of the people that are here, that this is a place that I want to be in and I want to come back to and I want to talk to my friends about. provide you with data to support the work we're doing and where we're doing it and how we're doing it. Again, to signal to potential investors that downtown is ready and is moving forward. Just one example, downtown Louisville in 2005, when we started, they had about 3 million visitors. We had a team of 15 that started the program. They ended service at 8 o'clock at night. By 2014, downtown Louisville was up to over 11 million visitors. Our team was still about the same at 17, but we adjusted hours and we were there as late as 11 o'clock. We're even there later now. 4th Street Live runs well into the morning. We're there until they close down at the end of the night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. Why outsource, or maybe a better term is why partner? I like to think of it as there's really no reason to recreate the wheel. We have a national footprint. We have connections. We have best practices. We have vendor relationships on all the things that you would need, and we don't have to recreate any of that for you or on your own. We also manage the risk, whether that be from people, whether that be from workers' comp, recruitment, training, whatever those pieces that many people find difficult to do, that's a big piece of what we're providing for you. At this point, I'd like to ask if there's any questions. I can quickly go through the proposal we made if you feel that's relevant as to hours, but again, that's all flexible and can be adjusted as we continue to move closer.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for the presentations. Commissioners, questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady.
On April the 18th, a few of us are going to get an opportunity to travel to Cleveland and really get a firsthand look of what you do block by block. I think it's an exciting opportunity. I know that, you know, whenever residents or tourists see clean and feel safer, it's a better environment. It's a better environment for the tourist. It's a better environment for economic development. So I see a lot of positives to this, and I'm really looking forward to the 18th.
Okay. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you have an opportunity to meet our manager there, Brian Perkins. I think he's a fantastic young man.
Additional questions or comments, Commissioners?
Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
I wonder if anyone could give us an idea of what it would cost to do this in-house compared to using someone like Block by Block.
I can, through the commission president to the commissioner, for example, and Tom Spear from the Greenhouse, which is probably the closest proximate department or division that does this type of work. He's thrilled with this because they have a very large workload there. We've invested in new staff there, but these are the certain types of things, whether it's clearing the sidewalks in the winter or doing the maintenance with the cigarette butts and the painting of curbs, et cetera, in the summer, that they just have not had a chance to get to do. Our contribution to this in the pilot year of $50,000 is about 2/3 of what it would cost to add one full-time employee with benefits to the Greenhouse division. So it gives you a sense that we're able to leverage through Downtown Sandusky Inc.'s investment in the short term, and then long term potentially have that completely displaced, as well as through the expertise that Block by Block provides in this area, so that we're getting a significant addition of services. The other thing I would add to that, it's not a one-for-one comparison, because we have employees that to have them work evenings or weekends requires us to pay overtime. A lot of these hours will be scheduled without overtime on evenings and weekends, and we're able to double up in the summer when we need it the most. So it is a very significant savings to be able to partner, and those officials like Tom Spear in the Greenhouse that he oversees are thrilled with this because they know it'll allow them to provide the quality of services that they would like to provide while allowing another entity like Block by Block to partner with them to take on some of these other tasks on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Additional questions or comments, Commissioners?
Mr. Chairman.
Lockhart.
You know, I'm trying to wrap my mind around why we would need this program. You know, it's a focus on downtown, and so then in my mind, I'm saying, well, why aren't we doing this for the whole city? Why aren't we having ambassadors all over our city and cleaning up everywhere? You know, and I say that because try and look at everybody's perspective. Are we only spending money in one area? Are we only concentrating on one area? And I understand there's a theory of building up a nice downtown and having people come into it. Certainly not opposed to that idea.
And so I still need to be a little bit more convinced as to why we should outlay so much money on just downtown when we have obviously more constituents, more citizens of Sandusky and more areas that need improvement. Do you follow what I mean?
Yeah, I
Not
do.
saying that you don't have a good program that's well put together, and I do thank you for coming today to present this to us, but I'd like to get a little bit more into why in particular we should be looking at focusing just on downtown and your program.
Sure. So thanks, Commissioner. It's a good question. I think the first thing I would say is we would love to make this citywide. If that was something that we were able to grow into, I think there's certainly opportunity to do that. And if you look at the models that have been made in other places, we've seen a lot of examples where one part of the city, be it a downtown area or a other commercial center, will start an ambassadors program like this, and other parts of the city, seeing the benefit, decide they want to get involved. So that's the first thing. I think there's potential to do that in Sandusky if that was something that we wanted to do. I think to start off with, particularly this year, the aim is to do this pilot project, to trial it, to see is it something that's going to really add the kind of benefit that we think it's going to add to the city. And then we can have ongoing discussions about the scope of this program and where we want to focus it. So that'd be the first thing. I think the second thing, also to the point that Eric was just making, one of the things we're going to be able to do here by using other resources is to free up some of the city resources to go actually spend some more time in the neighborhoods doing some of the things that they would like to be doing, whether it's with the greenhouse department with trees and other things. And so I think by focusing on downtown, it gives us the opportunity to test the project, to test clean and safe, to make sure block by block is a partner we want. And secondly, while we're doing that, and in the longer term, it's going to help us with resources elsewhere in some of the neighborhoods, residential neighborhoods, as we go forward. Does that answer your question?
I can double on that as well. Through the commission president to Commissioner Lockhart, this specific program is a Fed, and I think, Mr. From Block by Block would say that these are predominantly in downtowns, although you see that they have spread into commercial districts and neighborhoods in Cleveland as well as downtown. We obviously don't have the scale of commercial districts or the size of commercial districts, but I do think it's important to note that, one thing, we're adding 5 employees to provide services to neighborhoods in this year's city budget full-time, as well as 5 seasonals in addition to last year that'll be spending time in neighborhoods as well, ranging from forestry to recreation to nuisance abatement, et cetera. So we've invested heavily in full-time city employees outside of downtown, in addition to accelerating the amount of capital dollars that we're putting into Sandusky's neighborhoods. The reason these specific resources are going downtown is because it's more affordable for us to add. The need exists. It's more affordable for us to partner with Block by Block to leverage the investment from Downtown Sandusky, Inc., which not every neighborhood would be in a position to match that on a 50-50 basis. But I think most importantly, this is a first step or a pilot project in that it is not common in every part of a city that you have enough concentrated value in any one district as far as property values, where through a special assessment, you'd be able to fund an improvement district on its own. So this is a pilot project, and the presentation mentioned the Dorn Foundation is actually making a grant to help provide the detailed analysis necessary to pass an improvement district. The goal of this is to get the city completely out of funding this service over that longer term period, but this is a necessary step for us, or I guess we're planting a seed that can grow into a self-sustaining area. We often ask of downtown, more so than any other neighborhood in the city, to fund its own improvements through things like tax increment financing, et cetera. So I'd say this is akin to that, and ultimately, you're gonna see a great bang for the buck in investment, and I can tell you, and we're happy to have people follow up, folks that are considering making major investments in downtown, whether that's Bowling Green State University, Cedar Point, Marouse, et cetera, they're telling us that one of the things that's holding them back, and the ECODEC survey shows, is that downtown, they need to make sure that that cleanliness or that level that they're used to is there, whether they're maintaining their own campus at Cedar Point or at BGSU. I'd be happy to have those folks follow up with you directly to say how important these types of investments are to them. And ultimately, downtowns or business districts tend to provide a significant amount of tax income that actually subsidize citywide services in the rest of the city. So.
Thank you, Ms. Webster. Additional questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Cool.
The capital equipment that you talked about in there, is that part of this $100,000, or is that coming someplace else?
No,
You bring those with you?
excuse me, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, the slide's gone. The proposal that was put in place includes everything that would be necessary to put the ambassadors on the street, including uniforms, training, capital equipment, being a truck, pressure washer. I believe there's also a billy goat, hand tools, all of the items that they would need to put into the field, the handheld devices and everything. If I may, one of the past questions, excellent question about the neighborhoods, and I think Eric did a good job of explaining it. You may want to reach out to Aaron Perry in South Bend. He's the director of Venues, Parks, and Arts. And he could give you some additional feedback as to why the city has chosen to work with Block by Block. And I think Cleveland is another good example. It started 10 years ago in the core of downtown, and as the neighborhood saw how vibrant downtown was becoming and how important the ambassadors were to that vibrancy. First it was Ohio City, then it was Gordon Square. We now have like 8 satellite programs, all running off and being supported by the core program, leveraging that capital equipment, leveraging that management experience, so that those costs really don't get spread out to each individual program. And it's worked out very well. But again, you're visiting Cleveland. I hope you enjoy it, and I think you'll get a lot more of your questions answered there.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Poole.
In the presentation, you talked about 2 part-time people. Maybe I missed it. How many FTEs are we talking about? I got the 2 full-time. What are these part-time folks? How many hours does that represent? And what's your vision
Here you go, Greg. Can you get
for
it up?
for this project, time-wise?
I believe the total hours for full-time were,
80. You got 2 full-time, I saw that. That's 80 hours.
oh, now I have to put my glasses on.
There was a slide that represented this on the.
Just actually next slide.
So we had 80 hours a week for the 2 full-time, and then during the summer, that was during the winter, and then during the summer, it would be 128 hours per week, 2 part-time and the 2 full-time. And again, this is just a starting point as to where those hours would be used. One of the most important things about Block by Block, about our ambassador programs, is we're flexible. We'll put people where they need to be. We want to be where people are. We don't want to be behind the scenes. We want to be out in front. We want to be engaging. It's much more fun to be out there when people are there. So, but this is just, again, a sample of how the hours would be broken out.
Commissioners, additional questions or comments?
Thank you. Just one comment. As explained, the amount of work we're getting for this $50,000 is certainly exactly as explained. I'm looking forward to getting your statistics to show going forward that we actually have a need. As returns, I look at the things that you've described. If we lived in an inner city with an urban environment and a lot of problems, I would say yes, $100,000 invested is a no-brainer to get what we're doing. Our downtown's clean. We have graffiti on one building that's very minor that I saw. So I'm trying to see, and I think we're gonna have more ambassadors than I have visitors. So it becomes, I would have been a lot more excited about this 3 to 5 years from now when we had lots of people that I envision you're interacting with. I basically think that our community, we should be interacting with the people that come here, not paying somebody to do it. But the project, I can pilot, we can see how it goes. Dave.
We have your name on our shirts, not our name.
Yeah,
We do everything
I recognize that. I'm still talking about building community, and paying folks to do stuff we ought to be doing is just something I take a hard look at.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Hawker.
If Mr. Poole's finished, I'm sorry. Finished? So, it's gone. Special projects that I saw there, I'd like you to kind of define what you think they may or may not be, and I guess that may be special events or something like that. And as far as cleaning, I have to agree with Mr. Poole that we kind of have a really clean downtown. I lived in Cleveland, and there was a period where it wasn't clean downtown, certainly. But we kind of have a nice clean downtown, And there's a gentleman in Mr. Brad Link's department who does a great job with horticulture. Matter of fact, if you haven't seen it, there's one gentleman that takes care of all those hanging baskets downtown, and Jim Arthur, and he does a heck of a job with that. And so he will still be there, certainly. And so that adds on to I would assume, a fifth person being downtown. And so, I'm still not convinced as to, why we would need you down there. If you can kind of give me some detail on your special projects and how you might be able to do a better job of cleaning as to what we've done already to an already nice downtown.
Well, first, special projects, that would be anything that is identified by you or by our manager that needs special attention. That could be pressure washing, that could be painting a light pole, that could be removing graffiti on the side of a building with the property owner's permission. Any of those things we roll up into the term special projects. It could be leaf removal in the fall using Billy Goat, which is a lawnmower size trash vacuum.
I was hoping that was a real Billy Goat, because then you...
No. I want a couple of those, but no. It's a piece of mechanical equipment. But it's any of those things that we roll up that's not part of a standard deployment or a walking path that we would like the ambassadors to do. You do have a clean downtown. And our only thing that we can do is help make it cleaner. Removing goose poop, pigeon poop, the tree, cigarette butts out of the tree grates, the curb lines, making it as inviting. I think the bigger piece, though, is that these are people who are on the street who want to engage the people who are on the street that business people don't see because they're doing their business, that can help get people to your door. It could be the lady that I spoke to this afternoon sitting on the park bench walking her dog, and how she wanted to go Segway riding in Savannah, Georgia. And I said, wow, you got beautiful downtown right here. And she said, maybe you should try it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your presentations. We have one more presentation. Ms. Blanca, I understand you're going to be giving us a report regarding the CDBG Annual Action Plan. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of commission. This will be the second public hearing concerning the city's 2017 Community Development Block Grant Program year. The CDBG is a federally funded program administered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and as an entitlement city, Sandusky directly receives an allocation of funds to carry out selected activities within the community. All of the funds must meet one of three national objectives, which include low to moderate income benefit, elimination of slum and blight, and community urgent need. Sandusky anticipates an allocation of approximately $650,000, plus an additional $160,000 in carryover funds and $50,000 in program income, for a total of $860,000 for program year 2017. The proposed program year 2017 activities have been selected through a public process involving public hearings and meetings. The first public hearing was held on February 13th during the City Commission meeting. Additionally, 2 Consolidated Plan Advisory Committee meetings were held on February 3rd and March 24th. The draft plan was made available for a 30-day public comment period, which ended at 5 p.m. on April 9th. Applications were made available for funding and reviewed for completeness to determine eligibility through a scoring system using a preset ranking system. The proposed activities in the draft plan currently include the following: program administration, $113,000, fair housing, $9,000, streets, sidewalks, curb and gutter, $270,000, parks and ADA improvements, $120,000, residential clearance and demolition, $80,000. Code enforcement, $150,000. Sandusky Transit System Transit Waiting Environmental Improvement Program, $10,000. The Erie County Health Department's 211 program, $8,000. Erie County Senior Center Meals on Wheels program, $15,000. Center for Cultural Awareness Citizen Circle program, $10,000. City of Sandusky Recreation Department Summer Playground Program, $10,000. The OGO Reach Program, $15,000, and then Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund would be $50,000 in program income. Legislation will be brought to City Commission for approval on April 24th so that the plan can be submitted to HUD by May 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walker. Commissioners, questions or comments? This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone present who wishes to speak on this matter, you're quite welcome to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. My only question would first be $120,000 for Parks and Recreation, correct? Do we have specific programs that we are going to use that money for?
So for parks and ADA improvements, we have planned activities for Central Park, in addition of a floating dock near River Avenue, as well as the skate park design.
My only question then would be, probably for the last 5 to 7 years, Commissioner Waddington and I have gone into the city parks on the weekends and cleaned up the parks, and what we're seeing is it takes forever to get drinking fountains into the parks where there is already a spot for a drinking fountain. A lot of the parks, instead of putting drinking fountains back in, we're just capping where the drinking fountains were at before. So since it's too late for this year, maybe the city commission could find funding from a different source to try to put drinking fountains into every park that either has one now or used to have one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Christine Besch and Kendra Faulkner from OGO. We basically just wanted to thank you for the opportunity. We're first timers at this and we don't take it lightly. We know that you've all sit and talk about money all the time, but this is a really big deal to us, so we thank you for that.
Remind us, ladies, what you're doing and what OGO stands for.
Yes, OGO is, the thing that makes us different is we're mobile. So we provide services and programs to a lot of the neighborhoods by converting trucks and going right to their houses. So we either deliver goods such as Christmas presents, school supplies, things that they need and want to their homes or to their parks, or we provide events. So an example of that would be the Bookmobile, where you'll probably remember from last time that we read to the students and they get to keep the books that they pick out. And then another example is something that we're starting this spring. It's mobile art parks and discovery walls that we are building. And we're putting them in the parks, and they're going to be circulating different areas where the kids can actually come outside and interact with. There's 3 panels that are double-sided that they'll be able to interact with. But this specific program, OGO Reach, is a more formal, it's formalized of what we already do. So it's not just first come, first serve and more random. These families will actually register. They'll verify their low-income status, even though those are already the areas we go to. And we decided that we would bring the services and organizations that are already so great that we have here in Sandusky and the surrounding areas to them. So just to give you an idea, these are partners that are coming along with us that we're bringing right to these families that I'm super excited about. And then we'll also be using OGO volunteers as a mobile play group and all of our different events to go along with it. But Sandusky Library, Sandusky Schools, Help Me Grow and Head Start, Crooked Canvas, Dr. Stefano, Peds on Wheels, Paramount Advantage, Mulberry Creek, Dragonfly, Back to the Wild, Metro Parks. There's some fitness instructors that I would have to mention them by name, but they're doing the new Pound and Amped and Zumba, Sandusky PD, and Fire. So we're really excited about it. It's a 7-week program in each development, and then we have a month in between where we do our truck tour, and we get the next set of families to register. And what we're doing is hopefully getting those families and the parents to be involved, because what we do right now, a lot of the parents don't come out, the kids do, and we are definitely making such an impact in their lives. But we've noticed that the parents that do come out and the families that do involve themselves in this, they're learning so much just from the modeling behaviors and and interacting and getting those incentives along the way. So we also are excited to say that we're now the first, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say first, but mobile food pantry. So we're able to reach a lot of the desert food areas in Sandusky, and we're taking the food with us right to them.
Thank you, ladies,
Sure.
for this initiative.
Thank you.
It's still a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak to the CDBG plan for this year? If not, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tim Brown with Erie here in Richland County Community Action Agency. Even though we're not part of the 2017 CDBG plan, I do like to thank the city for our past collaborations we've had in the past, operating our home repair grant. Our home repair program is a challenge to operate. A lot of challenges, clients meeting the income guidelines, meeting all the other requirements that their program demands, and some challenges with some of our contractors. But we still like to thank you for our past collaboration and keep us in mind in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Anyone else wishing to speak to the CDBG plan? If not, then this hearing is closed. Proceed to our regular items of business. I wonder if someone might make a motion to accept the communications from staff.
Second.
Been a motion, second. Discussion. That objection, the motion will be approved. Hearing no objection, the motion will be approved. Commissioners, we have first our several consent agenda items. Are there any of those that anyone wishes to have pulled off and put on the regular agenda? If not, then would someone care to make a motion to proceed with the consent agenda items?
Sure.
Mr. Brady.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda, declaring that all ordinances and resolutions A through J as drafted and presented to the City Commission under the consent agenda shall take effect in accordance with the section reflected in the ordinance and or resolutions, whether it be in accordance with Section 13 or Section 14 of the City Charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion.
Kelly.
Mrs. Cresser.
Yes.
I'm going to actually get this right today. Would you please present the consent agenda items without having me? I really appreciate that I've received now 4 reminders. So
Backwards again, dude.
Okay. Item A is a.
Justin wants to know.
Not that I know of.
What? E? Is he?
Been a motion second.
Yep. Okay. Too late now.
Item A is a second reading for the redesign and rebuilding of the city's website with Revise LLC. Item B is accepting 6 parcels of land through the city's land reutilization program. Items C through G are purchase and sale agreements for different properties. Those addresses are 623 Decatur Street, 1222 Vine Street, a parcel on the west side of Harrison Street, 908 Jackson Street Extension, and 1432 East Farwell Street. And item H is approval of a grant application to the Lake Erie Shores and Islands for the inaugural Dragons and Bacon Fest event.
I believe there are 2 more. Mrs. Cresser.
Oops, one more piece of paper, sorry. Item I is a Trex liquor permit transfer for Zeller Gaming LLC. And item J is a new liquor permit for the Beckling Club on Columbus Avenue.
Commissioners, having heard these various items and have a chance to review the supporting communications and material, how do you wish to proceed? I guess we've already had a motion and second. Discussion. If not, then Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the ordinances and resolutions, please.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Those resolutions and ordinances are adopted. Item number 1 of our regular agenda, please.
Item number 1 is an ordinance approving and adopting the 2017 5-year capital improvement plan for the city of Sandusky.
Having heard this communication, Commissioners, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of the rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
It was designed as, I think it was presented as a first reading.
Correct.
First, okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
At first reading, I'm making my.
Okay. Been a motion and second discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Cool.
this is difficult for me because this is a 5-year plan that has probably 95% of it I don't have any concerns with. There are a few items on here which we'll get into down the line. We're not going to discuss them tonight. We have money for many projects here. I'm disturbed that I can't get drinking fountains put in at parks. I think on Venice Road, from Edgewater going back toward Tiffin Ave is where people are doing the walking. They have to do much walking back to the stores and things in that area, and I think that's dangerous and it's not included. These are things I suppose we'll have to wait for, but I just have concerns about that. Likewise with the basketball courts, I believe that with all the money we're spending on many things, in terms of priorities, the expansion of the basketball courts at J.C.'s Park is a very big item. We have adults playing on child-sized parks, which means they're crowded together and likely to end up creating additional work for the police department, which is what happens when you overcrowd folks. And I think we have the money to do these things, and they should have been a higher priority. And so I'll decide how to vote at the moment that I make that vote. It's one to either, yes, I agree with all the hard work you did and many of the things that are very good, versus no, I don't agree with all of it, and that's where we're at. It's where I am on this.
Further questions or comments? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on first reading, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Yes. Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
No.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That passes on first reading, subject to passage at our next meeting. Item number 2, please.
Item 2 is a resolution declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with a proposed Sloan Street manhole replacement and slip lining project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
I move for the adoption of this resolution under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Brady.
I know Mr. Klein has a brief explanation of what we're doing in this instance. It seems $150,000 seems like an awful lot of money for a manhole, but he educated me this afternoon on where those dollars are going, and I would ask him to tell us on the record exactly how we're doing that.
He educated you?
Yeah. It happens every other month.
Okay, Mr. Klein. Won't take us long with the rest of the group.
Okay. Through you, Mr. President, this project, I don't know if you recall, last October we bid out the manhole, didn't get any bids. It's a 14-foot deep manhole. The contractors at that time were all, they said they were all too busy and couldn't spare some guys to do it within the time frame we allocated. So instead of 2 separate projects, we combined them. We now have a manhole replacement project and a slip lining project. What that is it's a cast-in-place polyethylene that goes in the line, it expands, and it creates a new pipe inside the combination sewer. So right now it's clay. We cambered it, and the joints are pulling apart, and we have several cracks throughout the pipe, allowing groundwater and everything to get into it. So we're going to be slip lining 811 feet of that 15-inch combined sewer, in addition to replacing that 14-foot manhole.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Any questions or comments, Commissioners? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Now on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. Item number 3, please.
Item 3 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds to Erie Materials Incorporated of Sandusky, Ohio for asphalt and paving material to be supplied for in-house street repairs and projects, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Twine.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion. Probably one of the questions that came up earlier is, and I don't know if you would know this offhand, but which, if you can recall, which streets were paved in-house in 2016? And I know this is flexible. Some of this is going to be used on an as-needed basis, but do you have any expectations for 2017?
Mr. President, I would defer to Public Service Director Link if I could for the 2016 projects. I think there were 5 or 6 blocks that were done and then the end of Shoreline Drive, so.
So we did, yes. We did 2nd Street from Ontario to Ogons. We did 4th Street from Ontario to Ogons. And we also did Erie Street, 1 block on Erie Street, and then 1 or 2 blocks on Ogons, I believe. I don't recall offhand the block. But we did 5 blocks total, I believe. 4.5 blocks total.
Thank you, Mr. Link.
And
plans for 2017?
Yes, as you mentioned, the 2017 is very flexible. What this will allow us to do, to Commissioner Poole's point, if we needed to, if we were looking at another basketball court or something like that, that money would be available for that. We always have directives or requests throughout the year of, we need to get to this one immediately, we need to do this right now. We don't have specific roads that we're looking at. Again, this is asphalt. This is for Erie Blacktop or Erie Blacktop, not Gherkin, but this is asphalt, so it wouldn't be for those concrete streets. But we don't have that set list. The other thing that it allows us to do is if we've underestimated some of the resurfacing that we have, it gives us that flexibility to have that money already there. That number may go down, that 75,000 may go up, depending on where we get bids in for the year.
Thank you, Ms. Klein. Questions or comments, Commissioners? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the Commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 4, please.
Item 4 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to expend funds to HD Supply Waterworks of Ashland, Ohio for the purchase of materials and parts for in-house water main repairs, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules and in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
And a motion and second. Discussion. Ms. Klein, I understand from the communication that what you're doing here is instead of purchasing a lot of items underneath the $10,000 threshold, what you're doing is saying, look, this is important. We buy these materials all year long, so out of transparency, you're saying, let's put it on the agenda once so that we all can take a look at this and understand that this is a significant amount of money and this is what we spend in total, and why this is all important to do.
Yes, that's exactly it, Mr. President. I know I talked to Finance Director Soloway, and I'd say about a month ago, as we're doing water main breaks, we're doing repairs, we're buying pipe, HD Supply, we purchase our steel from them, we purchase our water meters from them, things like that. We would get 2 POs for $9,500 because we're buying stuff so frequently. And to avoid that, during the auditing process, to avoid that possible question from the auditor, this is something that we can clear that up now. It's not going to look like, hey, they're buying everything, but they're splitting it up into several POs. Now, like I said, we buy all our hydrants from HD Supply. We've costed out several different places, and HD Supply constantly comes in low. And it just will clear all that up for us, even with the water meters. They supply all of our new census water meters. So this will go a long way to being able to respond more quickly as well.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Questions or comments? Ms. Gresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 5, please.
Item 5 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to accept grant funds in the amount of $240,000 from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the Sandusky Bay Strategic Restoration Initiative, authorizing the city manager to execute any grant agreements and to expend the funds consistent with the grant agreement, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed? Ms. Twine?
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under the suspension of the rules in accordance with section 14.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? Now, Mr. Klein, I see Dr. Scudder Mackey back there, and I want to say publicly again, thank you for this wonderful check that the state provided.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
I don't think so. We very much appreciate that. This is an extension of what it is that we've been doing. And for those at home who don't know about that, the state awarded the city of Sandusky $1 million in planning for major projects to improve the health of Sandusky Bay. But this is an extension beyond that. And if you could take a few minutes to explain all that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, certainly. Again, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up Scudder Mackey and the effort that he's gone into to make sure that this Sandusky Bay initiative is kicked off, and the effort that I know he's going to go into to make sure that it's a success. And not only him, but his staff has been amazing to work with, not only at ODNR, but at Ohio EPA and the various agencies that we've worked with. So the $1 million that we received previously was for some projects. It's for design and planning of those particular projects. The design would be around fish habitat, beneficial reuse of dredge material, nutrient reduction, those types of things. Those 4 projects are considered kind of those maybe low-hanging fruit projects that are necessary. And all those 3 to 4 projects are along the Sandusky Shoreway. So it was easily justified to take the leadership role as the city of Sandusky on those 3 to 4 projects. Now, taking a step back, when we engaged with consultants and ODNR and the various entities, everybody looked at it and said, well, do you have a master plan for Sandusky Bay? Is there a master plan? Why'd you pick these 3 or 4 projects? So ODNR approached us again and said, we have another $240,000. We would like to engage with the city of Sandusky again and take that leadership role to the next level and incorporate all these various agencies. And I mentioned many of them in the document, but this is going to be a huge collaboration between various entities. There's scientists from 4 universities and colleges, OSU Sea Grant, Old Woman Creek, Lake Erie Commission, ODNR Division of Wildlife and Coastal Management, Cleveland Water Alliance, which we became a member of recently, Shores and Islands, other private partners, soil and water districts, metro parks, consultants. There's a lot of people that have been collaborating. And one of the nice things about this is there have been so many individual projects that have been going on, that have been led, again, by ODNR, that they've provided funding and done individual projects. And this effort is going to be able to bring all those individual projects together. We're going to be able to bring all those people together, and we're going to be able to learn what we can do for Sandusky Bay. If we do those first 3 or 4 projects, it's going to be useless in 5 years down the road. So we do these first 3 or 4 projects, look for the funding for implementation on those, and then from that point forward, there's another 5, 10 projects, whatever, throughout Sandusky Bay, so it doesn't make that first $1 million useless. And this is a very exciting effort, but I think what's important is that, you know, this is $240,000, but the effort that's going to be put in by the city of Sandusky to lead the meetings and all that is going to be reimbursed. We're able to get up to just over $10,000 back for our efforts to reimburse or to lead those coordination in those meetings and to coordinate those decisions on which projects should be included in the final plan.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Commissioners, questions or comments? Well, I want to thank the ODNR, and I want to thank you, Mr. Klein, and your colleagues. This is really the finest example of governance that you can have, where you have a real scientific problem, and it cries out for scientific and engineered solutions. And we get everyone together, instead of twitting about fake news, we get everyone together and look at the real problems and work collaboratively to try to find a solution. And I want to thank the state of Ohio in particular for its recognition of the importance of driving down the process of finding solutions to the level at which we have the problems. We spoke before about in the Catholic tradition they call it subsidiarity, and that is an important aspect to any kind of governance where you decentralize. It's also completely it's completely in keeping with the conservative tradition, which is to drive the decision-making down to the local level. So I'm very appreciative of the example that Mr. Klein and Dr. Mackey and ODNR have displayed for all of us, and I look forward to great things as a result of all this work. Other questions or comments? Mr. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Klein? Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 6, please.
Item 6 is an ordinance authorizing and directing the city manager to enter into a services agreement with Great White North Communications Limited of Toronto, Ontario, for services related to the inaugural Dragons and Bacon Festival for the Recreation Department, and declaring that this ordinance shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed?
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Waddington.
I move for the adoption of this ordinance under suspension of rules in full accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
And a motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Cool.
a trip to Toronto to see this sounds a lot better than watching them pick up trash in Cleveland.
Thanks, Russ.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Lloyd.
maybe on that trip to Cleveland, they could buy him some bacon.
Halfway home.
West Side Market.
Yeah, West Side Market, halfway home. Okay. Further questions or comments? Ms. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the ordinance?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
That ordinance is adopted. Item number 7, our last item, please.
Item 7 is a resolution declaring the necessity for the city to proceed with a proposed Amtrak depot renovation and modernization project, approving the specifications and engineer's estimate of cost thereof, and directing the city manager to advertise for and receive bids in relation thereto, and declaring that this resolution shall take immediate effect in accordance with Section 14 of the city charter.
Commissioners, having heard this communication, how do you wish to proceed? Ms. Twine.
I move for the adoption of this resolution under the suspension of rules in accordance with section 14 of the city charter.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just a question.
Lockhart.
In this modernization, will it encompass more space, heating, or something like that to make the travelers more comfortable that are there? Because we do have a number of travelers that do come in and stay at all hours of the night. And I think the station locks down at, after 12 or something like that.
Ms. Byington, could you answer Commissioner Lockhart's question and give us just a little bit more background about the project?
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. The last comprehensive renovation of the Amtrak occurred in 1999, and since then, there's been minimal maintenance that has occurred over the years, so the Amtrak is in a state of disrepair, in our opinion, and needs some upgrades. At this point, we are requesting permission to bid out the construction portion of the Amtrak project. That would include adding and delineating offices, workspaces, modernizing the conference and training room, and securing the public area. The engineer's estimate for the construction portion, which I just detailed out, is $46,755. The total project cost is $95,000, so the difference would be going towards security, computers, and other equipment that is necessary for the total project. We anticipate that the completion date would be no later than October 1st, and that's because we are under a deadline by the grant. The project, as I said, has a total cost of $95,000. 80%, which is $76,000, will be reimbursed with the OTPPP grant, and the other 20%, which is $19,000, is being paid through grant funds from local foundations that have gone through serving our seniors. So there won't be any general fund money used in this project. But we are requesting that is passed under Section 14 to expedite the process so we can meet the grant deadline of October 1st.
Just a second. But I was asking specifically about the public portion, the accommodations for the public. Will that be upgraded?
So there will be minimal, there'll be some upgrades there, security, and there will be some improvements to the restrooms. I have the full plans. If you'd like to stop up and take a look at them, I'd be happy to show you the full plans. But I have them here and I can show them to you after the meeting. But the project budget with the cost estimate from Mr. Fike does not detail out anything specific for that area, but I do know that there are some restroom improvements and security that will be made there. I cannot speak offhand in regard to the heating, but I can check on that for you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Poole.
unless there's been a change, the last time I was in the Amtrak portion, you're talking about the entire building that we're upgrading for transit, correct?
Correct.
That's really what this is about.
Correct.
The Amtrak portion where people catch the train is, the last time I was there, was very well heated, it was clean, and was perfectly acceptable. And I've been there several times. Not recently though, so unless it's changed, but it was fine.
Additional questions or comments? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Yes. Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
And now on the resolution?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine? Yes. Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. That completes our regular agenda items. So we turn the meeting now over to Mr. Wobser for his report.
Thank you, Commission President Murray. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, audience and staff. We'll start with the bicentennial in new and old business. An update, the Bicentennial Marketing Committee is currently developing a bicentennial website. It's set to go live early this summer at Sandusky2018.com. That's being funded with resources made specifically available for the bicentennial. In addition to that, the Bicentennial History Committee recently met with local museums and are collaborating to create a cohesive set of events between museums for the year of the bicentennial. I also just want to pause for a moment to thank the commission, many city staff, as well as a lot of community partners who made possible last week the governor's visit to Sandusky. It was a very special evening and day and occasion. Many of you I know had a chance to participate, as did a number of folks in the community and a variety of the events that were held throughout town. And I've gotten incredible feedback across a variety of different subjects, but one of which, and this goes out to the city staff, was that the city looked beautiful the day of the bicentennial. I know that they worked really hard for weeks in advance to get ready for that. I know the theater looked great. I want to commend the folks at the theater, and then a lot of the events from the ballroom at Cedar Point, which a lot of people hadn't been in a number of years throughout town, were very well attended. And, we hope to leverage that moment, one, just as a special time in Sandusky's history, but also as an opportunity to build a lot of relationships with the state, not unlike Mr. Mackey's presence today, to help bring state investments to projects that will be important to implementing our own bicentennial vision and plan. So thank you guys for making that possible. And I heard from a number of people that they were very, very impressed with the number of collaborations and partnerships and progress that was being made in the city. Moving on to the police, we want to congratulate Officer Sean Orman, who was selected as Officer of the Year for 2016. I had a chance to attend the banquet, and it was very special. We also want to give a hearty congratulations to Dana Newell, who was promoted to the rank of lieutenant on April 6th. I had a chance to attend Chief Orzek swearing him in, and it was a really great crowd of his friends and family and fellow officers from throughout, not only Sandusky, but all of Erie County, and that was a really special moment for Dana. We're excited for him. Also, we've had several students intern with the police department this year through the Sandusky Schools Global Initiative Program. Congratulations to intern Leah Everson, who applied for and was one of only 40 students in Northern Ohio selected for the 3rd Annual Future Agents and Training Academy. This academy is a 4-day program for students aged 16 to 18 that live within the FBI Cleveland Division area of responsibility, and is a chance for youth to learn about the FBI, and it's similar to a mini Citizens Academy. Finally, I'm sure many of you saw it in the paper yesterday, but Tracy Susanna was featured in an article about the efforts of our department, as well as other departments, to add to their diversity as it relates to more female officers. We know those efforts are ongoing to make sure that our workforce in that department and every department is more reflective of the population of the community we serve. Moving on to finance, auditors are on site conducting field work on the 2016 financial audit through April 14th. Finance Director Soloway met with Nick Gerber of the Ashley Group to discuss current funding and claims related to the city's health insurance program for the first quarter of 2017. Moving on to Public Works, ODOT's contractor, Suburban Maintenance, will begin repairs to the Milan Road Overpass Bridge project on April 17th, which will be an inside northbound and southbound lane closure that will reopen before Memorial Day. In addition to that, punch list items for many uncompleted projects will begin over the next few weeks, including 5th Street, McKelvey, Franklin, and the East End Sewer Project. Also, ODNR has extended a grant opportunity of $250,000 per project for non-coastal upstream wetlands work to a maximum of $750K. The city is analyzing potential projects now, but is requesting commission approval to submit an application. If a project is determined, since the deadline is April 14th, we would notify commission at the next meeting if a project is submitted and for what. So I'd ask for a motion to approve our ability to apply for those dollars pending a later ratification.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? Mrs. Cresser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes,
Mr. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes.
that motion is approved.
Thank you, Commission. Moving on to community development. Demolition work has commenced at 425 Warren as of April 3rd. Work is expected to be substantially completed by May 31st. Also, the regular Board of Zoning Appeals meeting is scheduled for April 20th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. And the regular Planning Commission meeting will be held Wednesday, April 26th at 4:30 p.m. in the first floor conference room. Finally, moving on to public services, the annual Go Green celebration will be held on Saturday, April 29th at the City of Sandusky Greenhouse, located at 601 Franklin Street. We will have food, games, GIS tree inventory update. I don't know if I should have mentioned that after the food and the games, but I'm sure it will be exciting, Tiffany. And a tree planting. Please call 419-627-5884 with questions. Also, we've been accepted as an official Monarch City USA Thank you to Commissioner Waddington for championing this process. Gardens are being installed at 3 locations throughout the city. We'll also be transplanting some materials from Ontario School into our gardens throughout the summer, and that was just a wonderful collaboration between Director Link and Commissioner Waddington. Thank you guys for moving hard and fast. I think that was the fastest designation in Monarch USA history, so we appreciate it. I'm going to move on. The drive-through drop-off day will be held on Saturday, April 29th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 101 Shelby Street. Please call 419-627-5884 with questions about the event. And then finally, and also a big commendation to Director Link, Wilbur Street Park construction is part of our neighborhood park improvements program. We'll begin construction next week, and we're really excited about bringing that park improvement to the neighborhood. That concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wobser, and I just wanted to add to the comments you had regarding the State of the States Day and all the events that surrounded that. A lot of the legislators, of course, well, all the legislators were here. Many of them I still have a relationship with from my time down in Columbus, and to a person, they were just so extraordinarily impressed about what they saw here. They've obviously received some briefing from their legislative leaders about what's going on in Sandusky. They're all very excited about it. There was a lot of buzz, and they were really happy to be here. We will receive benefits from this that will extend on for many, many years. To have the governor, all the legislators, all the department heads here taking a look at what we've got going right here in the city of Sandusky is something that will really redound to our benefit. So I know it was a lot of hard work, but thank you to all who made that happen. I know that was tough on everyone, but thanks for making it work.
Thank you, Commission President. And incidentally, without revealing the name, a statewide elected official I had a chance to communicate with at one of the opening receptions. And he said that he's bringing his entire extended family here for a family reunion this summer for a week in a vacation rental in Sandusky. So we thought that was really, really exciting. And again, I think that that's a small dividend, but an important one because folks like that tell people where they go on vacation, and ultimately that ripples throughout their communities. So.
That's right. Questions or comments from the city manager?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Boddick.
I'd like to echo off what you said. The few people that I talked with, I agreed the excitement about the city looked great. Thanks, staff. But it's the next generation, as us up here, us 7 sitting up here, and I mentioned this to you this afternoon when I talked to you. It's about what Sandusky has to offer. Sometimes maybe we're blinded because we live here, we walk by things. The 22 miles of the waterfront, we got the best park in the world. Just neat things for kids for the future that I'm really excited about. That 5 years ago, I didn't see this vision, okay? And with these legislators that come in and the ones that I got to talk to, what a great community. So that was like another awakening for me. You know, we got, how many towns can say they have a birding trail inside their city complex? You know, we talked about the monarchs, and I'll push that, and the bumblebees and all that. But we got some neat things, kayaking, canoeing. You know, there's a lot of neat things. The pathway I'm excited about coming down the road. So maybe I'm an old man like Mr. Brady in my 60s, but there's something out there for the next generation. And I want them to know that, yes, Sandusky, you know, we finally turned the corner. We're like a big ship. It took a little while. And maybe a year ago, I wouldn't have thought like this, but boy, I'm really excited now. And I want to thank Eric, and I know you're going to be going on holiday, so remember, I have your phone for a week, correct? And I'm going to make that motion now. I said that Eric gives me his phone while he's on holiday for a week. Can I get a second? Can we have a vote?
I second that.
Okay, pass the phone down. I told you I'll keep it.
We're going to have a vote. All in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
aye.
Pass that phone down. You get it back next Sunday night.
Save your marriage.
I'm gonna blame you for any funny websites.
You're a bunch of butterflies. Pass it down. Shut it off and pass it down. No, we've talked a lot. He's done a hell of a job the last couple months, and doing this has been, you know, tremendous. And I just can't thank you enough. You've been more than what we ever expected here.
Thank you.
So, but please pass the phone down because.
Really want it? Doing it?
Yeah, I'm serious. Pass it.
He promises.
I'll give it back Sunday night.
Promises to leave it off.
What's that?
I'll pass it. It's off.
Okay.
It needs to,
Questions or comments for the city manager? Ms. Twine?
I'd like to add to that, I want to thank the staff, Eric, for all the work that took place. I've gotten a lot of feedback at the state level from legislators, just really happy about what they experienced here, what they saw here. And that just goes back to, again, what our city staff have done. Just can't thank you all enough, and thank you, Eric, for your leadership.
Anyone else for comments for the city manager or questions? Then we'll turn to items of old business. Ms. Twine?
I'd like to revisit the Orlando Pace Park basketball court. I know a couple times basketball court was brought up tonight. We've got some communications about the basketball court over there and the suggestions for the size of that. I'd like for us, I don't know that we finalized a size for that basketball court over there, but we've gotten some feedback that we'd like for it to be a half court size instead of a full court size. And a lot of that does have to do with the fact that that park over there, I think, was kind of built around this young man that kind of wanted some things in there. But we don't want to put things in there that would kind of overrun or overrule some of the initial reasons for that park. So if we can revisit that, I'd appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lincoln's probably heard not just Commissioner Twine's comments, but I'm sure you've heard from other people regarding that issue. And I wonder if there is not some type of a compromised position, which is a downsize, full-size court. Is there such a thing that younger people can still play full-court basketball, but on a much smaller scale than say a 95-foot court that you find at the high school level?
Sure, absolutely agree, Commissioner President and Commissioners. I have heard a lot of feedback on this issue. I made a compromise to that effect from an 84-foot by 50-foot court to a 74 by 42-foot court, which would be more of a middle school size court. The 84 by 50 would be a high school into a small version of a university size court. But I am also open to, if the commission would like the half court as opposed to the full court. I know that Mr. Yancey championed that to be a full court, and I would like to provide that with him, but I would not want to do that with compromising the rest of the neighborhood.
What was the size of the court prior to?
I would say the size was a quarter of a court. I don't have the exact dimensions, but I wouldn't think it wasn't much bigger than what would be inside of what is the 3-point line of a middle school size court, not much further than the foul line or anything like that.
So I've gotten some feedback that they just like for it to remain the size it was.
It was as small as it could get.
Mr. Waddington.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to, I'm okay with, and I've haven't had a real good discussion with Mr. Poole, but maybe shrinking it down and keeping it full court. I think the neighborhood kids, that's what they were looking forward to. When I had been out there, and Mr. Link, you've been out there several times, I'm fine if we want to shrink this down. And I understand what Mr. Poole, through emails and that, was concerned about if it's a full court, like a high school basketball court. I could see where that could be problematic in the neighborhood. So if we could shrink it down, like you said, with 74 by 42, shrink it down to be like a small grade school gym court. And I think that'd be, we're still getting the full court. I think a half court takes away from the initial that we looked at when we went out there. And we talked to a lot of folks. I just think a half court's not gonna be the same. Shrink it down, keep it full court, shrink it down, and I'd like to go that route.
Mr. Chairman?
I think Mr. Webster was trying to weigh in first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Waddington.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Waddington and Commissioner Brady. There's a compromise there. The intent is to have a court that kids can play on of a certain age, and we should shrink it down to something that middle school kids could probably play on. And with the consent of the neighborhood, it seems that way. And Ms. Twine and a few others have gotten calls and emails. So I think that would be the best approach to shrink it to a full-size court for middle school kids. Mr. Woods?
Through the commission president to the commissioners, I was only going to offer, and actually, like most good ideas, this came from Clerk Cresser, that potentially, because we have a few, it seems like there's a compromise that is floated, but there's a one for a half court and one for a smaller full court. Is that potentially Director Link take a few options through Victoria to the rec board and then bring that back to you quickly? If that makes sense, just to see what, because they're an advisory board to this committee, just so there's an additional layer. And I don't personally have a preference beyond what Brad or the commission would recommend for it. But it may be good to get people who are recreation minded to weigh in on whether it's the middle school half court or or middle school full court or the half court. And then just bring that back as further information for the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I think that's a great resolution, and probably all these, basketball courts that we might be looking at, maybe take it
To
that
float
route.
them through.
Mr. Chairman? First question. What was the rec board's position before we started? I mean, you're already almost into the project. Where were they before? What are we sending it back to them to hear now? What was their original position on? I mean, we're sending it back to rec board. It's not, it's this far already. Where are they at?
We meet Wednesday night in 2 days.
This started in November. I'm talking about where were they to begin with on
Well,
this?
full court, we were full court, but I don't know if anyone was up to speed on the actual dimensions of, full court.
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest, this is a bigger issue than just this little park. The size of this basketball court, and whether it's full court or not, I think, along with all our parks, should be dictated by who you're trying to draw to the park. I brought this up originally because I recognize that, first of all, this park is about the size, not much bigger than 3 small building lots in the city. And it's just really small, and it's geared for kids 10, 11 years of age with what's out there now in terms of a couple of swings. There's just not much there. And a full-sized, not a full court, a full-size college, what was proposed, basketball court, is made for adults. I think we should be looking at what's the purpose of the park? Who do you want to play there? And you put the amenities that will draw those people. The community citizens out there, their concern is they recognize if you put a basketball court, a full-size court, which is what we should have, that will draw adults, it will draw with it the cars that they have to drive there, that there's no place for them to park. The size of the court would be bigger than what is made for the kids to play in the neighborhood. And consequently, it just is a recipe for disaster that we would have just built into this for them. The kids wouldn't be able to play. Basketball games, team sports, draw people to watch them. They draw activity. It's loud. That's what team sports do. So we should be looking at our plans for these kinds of things based on where it is, what it's going to bring to the neighborhood, and the problems that come with it. Now, we have open area at J.C. Park there at Columbus Ave with 2 commercial businesses, Burl and Apple across the street, and a car place, a place that has plenty of space. Those basketball courts are undersized as it is. They're junior high size, and we've got 16 to 30-year-olds playing there, which is a recipe, which is designed to create problems. We should have 94-foot courts with college three-point lines in those locations because it will draw people. There's a parking lot there. And then what you do in these small parks, you design them for neighborhood, for kids, for the kids that live in the neighborhood, 12 and under. If you want to put a sign on the court that says 12 and under, that might even make it better for the people there. The idea is to improve the quality of life for people in these neighborhoods, and you put these things that we know are going to be due to the nature of them, louder and create problems for neighborhoods in areas that create less of a problem. So when you go back to the rec board, you need some parameters of what are we trying to accomplish. And you start with who do I want at this park? And if it's 11 and 12-year-olds below, then you build a smaller court They want to play a full court. Does it have to be 74? I'm not sure. For a kids' park, you may make it small enough that it doesn't draw high school kids. I saw the drawing you had. It had adjustable heights to the rim. Recommend that you just get one pole at 10 feet. You have no way to deal with the maintenance problem or the kids tearing down a basketball hoop that articulates. Just my observations of what you had, and I think my 5 minutes are up.
Mr. Whoops.
Through the commission president, I just want to state that I agree completely with the sentiment of Commissioner Poole as to wanting to make sure that we're getting the feedback. And I think part of the challenge is that, you know, we went basically 10 years without improving our parks, and we have not historically taken physical improvements to parks through the rec board. We're doing a lot more improvements to those parks now, which I know everybody's excited about, but it also means that we need to create a process for determining what happens in those parks. I think the 5-year capital improvement plan is good in that it provides us with telegraphing the types, at least the parks in which we plan to make investments. And a good example of that, I know Commissioner Poole mentioned a few times tonight, the J.C. Park. That actually is in a future year of the plan, and certainly improvements to the basketball courts can be a part of that plan, and we'll have that dialogue. So one thing that I think, and Brad has been very aggressive with the will of the commission behind him to make improvements to these parks. One thing that I will suggest as a way to create the process that Commissioner Poole discusses is that not only do we take future physical improvements to parks to the rec board before they come to this so they can help smoke some of that out, but that also, and I know Brad's been doing this informally, we hold a public meeting in the neighborhood where the parks are planned for and invite people out to give that feedback. So then it's being vetted by the community, by the rec board before a recommendation gets to this commission. And again, I think we're well on our way to that. Brad's already put some good processes in place for how we do it. And the 5-year capital plan gives us opportunities to talk about things like J.C. Park a few years before any improvements are actually planned to those facilities. So I think it's a really well-taken point. I apologize personally that we're still building the foundation to have those processes in place, but I do think we're on our way and are proud of the improvements we're making, and we'll always try to improve and perfect from where we go.
Good. Well, we always appreciate the public feedback, and I think that everyone worked in the right direction to get a better result. So thank you all. Other items of old business.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Lockhart.
I just want to touch on something that the city manager had said a little bit earlier. I was going to say it, but diversity is very important that we have in our city. It's something I thought about a long time ago. I walked down the halls of our city building here, and I noticed that I think we have somewhere around 220 or so odd employees, and there's about 68, as I counted it, 68 women employed in the city of Sandusky, and only I think about 4 of them are in management. So there's a disparity there. And then as far as African Americans or the makeup of the city is not yet represented in our employee yet, which would be nice to have. I think having that diversity will help us flow better as a community. We've got about 70% Caucasian and about 22% African American and 5.5% Hispanic, something like that. And then about 47% are men, and then I think the majority of residents or citizens are women. And so I'd like to see more women in positions of authority and more African Americans and perhaps 5.5% Hispanic being employed here. So diversity is very important. But moving on, I'd like to say thank you to Director Brad Link. I can't see him, but I know he's there. I organized and coordinated a couple events, 4 events, when the governor came to town, and that was for the state legislators. And one of those was the Martin Luther King bust awareness that was downtown. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Waddington, I believe it was, and Commissioner Murray. I think that they showed up. I was slightly behind because I was planning some of the other events, so that's important. I'd like to let everybody know that they raised some money. Just in that week, I think it was over about $1,600 or more in that week, and I'd like to thank Commissioner Poole for donating $1,000. That was a lot out of the Social Security, so I don't know what he's going to do. But we had at the Sandusky High School, we had 11 state legislators and one Cleveland area mayor come in, and we had about 50-plus or so students and community members, so that was an excellent time. The students actually came out of it saying that they learned something from the legislators there. And then we went on to a reception, which Commissioner Lloyd and Poole and Commissioner Twine showed up to. We had 3 Northeastern Ohio mayors and other state legislators there, so it was an excellent event. They all said that they had not realized the resources of Sandusky, the amenities that we have, the water, and they all said they did want to come back. We had about 13 state legislators there and other elected officials from around the state. So that was an excellent, excellent event. So I'd like to thank everybody that helped out with that. And really, I think we're moving forward. And now that we're on the eye of the state, I really, really appreciate everyone's help. Oh, and SPD. I didn't even realize that SPD was there until I see them. Their uniforms were so classy. And they were so well performed. I'm really proud of the Sandusky Police Department. So, thank you.
Other items of old business? New business?
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Twine.
Oh, sorry.
I think she started before you, sorry.
I'd like to make appointments to the Community Relations Commission, Charlene Adams, Jennifer Washington, and Dominic Wells for terms ending December 31st, 2019. And then Wendy Dobbins, Anthony Harris, Darrell Murphy, and Taylor Sutphin for term ending December 31st, 2020.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Those appointments are made. Mr. Waddington, now you wait.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to have Eric Jordan be appointed to the rec board.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That appointment is made. Mr. Waddington.
Okay, I got one other thing. I'd like to ask that we have legislation ordered in to support, the rec board made the recommendation for the Shelby Street boat ramp with Mr. Thompson. He's gonna charge an hourly fee of $5, and then it'll be a residential pass, fee of $50 for the year. And, I told the, rec board, and I talked to Victoria before she went on holiday, that I would bring this up tonight. If we could have legislation, about that. I look at it as, it's a, we talked about litter tonight. If we have someone down there, he was the only one that put in for this. And, the fees are nominal, but the, safety, the upkeep, staffing, the restrooms in the past has been problematic down there. I've worked some, fishing tournaments and that, and, upkeep wasn't real good. So, on behalf of the rec board, I'd like to make this, recommendation that we have legislation brought back at the next meeting to hire this Mr. Thompson.
So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion.
What is it? You're bringing legislation?
There was an email that went out late this afternoon from Victoria Kurt, outlining a proposal, actually attaching a proposal.
I just got it. I haven't had a chance. So we're just voting to do what?
Just ask for legislation to be brought in so that we can consider the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
All further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I would like to ask Mr. Poole, consistent with our discussion earlier, I guess over a little while now, I'd like to ask for legislation to be brought in that's, would be a resolution in support of the auto erase legislation that's been the subject of some discussion. But basically, there is pending legislation in the legislature, General Assembly, that's designed so that if someone is falsely accused, there would be a process by which their records would automatically be erased.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Further items of new business.
Mr. Chairman.
Brady.
I would like to make a motion for one executive session regarding potential real estate.
Motion. There's been a motion and second. Discussion? Mr. Crosser, would you poll the commissioners on the motion, please?
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Waddington?
Yes.
Ms. Twine?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mr. Brady? Mr. Poole?
Yes.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes. That executive session is such. Other items of new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Brady.
I'd like to take this opportunity to make a brief announcement regarding an event that Commissioner Waddington and I are going to be hosting in these chambers, not in these chambers, but in the third floor of the county board chambers on April the 22nd. This panel discussion that we're going to be holding is going to touch very vividly on the drug epidemic, opioid epidemic in our community. It's actually an outgrowth of a meeting that we had following the Martin Luther King Day celebration this year, where we decided to sit down with some of our new friends that we made over that weekend and develop a relationship with some people that we don't normally have a relationship with. We didn't really know where that concept was going to take us. And in two subsequent meetings since then, we have landed on this topic because it seems to be very timely. It will start at 10 o'clock on Saturday, April the 22nd, the third floor of Commission Chambers of the county building located downtown Sandusky. And we have quite a distinguished panel of speakers that day. I'm not going to name all of them, but they will consist of our police department, the sheriff's department, the courts, and many people from churches and the pastoral organizations. So I think we're going to get a good overview of the direction that we are going, and the direction perhaps that we need to go. So I would encourage anyone that certainly has an interest, and I hope you all have an interest in that, to spend a couple hours with us on Saturday, April 22nd.
Good work. Other items of new business.
Mr. Chairman.
Waddington.
Mr. Brady and I will be here Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and I guess it's my turn to buy the coffee for coffee with the commission.
It is.
Other items of new business. And we turn now to audience participation. Anyone wishing to address the commission on any city items, please step to the microphone, give us your name and address, and share with us your thoughts.
Charlene Adams, what's my address? 1518 Pearl Street. I just moved, so I don't remember. I wanted to say, I didn't get a chance to speak during the hearing because I was a little nervous. I just got out of another meeting that had my nerves a little shuffled. But I wanted to say thank you for supporting the Citizen Circle as long as you have. As you see, we had the Department of Correction here doing the state of the state, and they were very impressed with what we did and what we're doing with our clients, and they're looking forward to doing some future support with us and programming with us in the future for Citizen Circle to expand it and do some other things with it. So I really thank Angie and Ariel for the work that they do and the commission for supporting that process, and then thank you, Commissioner Twine, for appointing to the CRC.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Anyone else?
Sharon Johnson, 1139 Fifth Street. I just learned that just recently that the Trust of Lands Agreement has been extended. It had expired in December, and that's for designing this area here. And it was extended for the purpose of a market study. And I was wondering if, what specific market study are we looking at? And is the city paying into any of this study? Because I hear there's anonymous donors that are paying up on some of this. And why can't we know who the anonymous donors are? There might be a conflict of interest, just for transparency.
It is my understanding that the anonymous donors have donated to TPL, and so that is the business, as I understand it, of TPL and the donors.
So this is different than our agreement that we've had? Our agreement has not been extended then with
I can't speak to
Trust
that.
of...
I don't know about our agreement being extended or not.
You don't know this and you're a commissioner? How?
There are hundreds, if not thousands, of contracts the city enters into, and I don't know every single one and the expiration date, so I don't happen to know the answer to that question.
We're not.
Well, I was disappointed to hear that because I thought we'd have some designs by now. This has been going on for, what, a year? I just wondered how long the extension was for. Is it going to be another year before we even get anything designed down here? It looks like the ball's pretty well rolling down here, and I'm asking for some information here. Somebody should know something about this.
I believe that sometime this summer, it's anticipated they're going to have some kind of preliminary plans available, and I think that is consistent with their original timeline.
Nothing's changed from.
Mr. Whoops was indicating nothing's changed in that regard.
You're all going to be quiet then. Okay.
No, I answered your question.
Okay. Well, that wasn't a very good answer, Dennis. I know a little bit more than you do, I guess. The second thing is the Downtown Main Street Association came up here, and they want, in the future, $50,000 from the taxpayers. I don't think that should come from the taxpayers. If they want, to pay for that service, they can be assessed, or the city can bill them, or whatever. But I don't think the taxpayer should pick up the tab. We're talking about a little area in front of their shop. You mean to tell me somebody can't go out there early in the morning, an employee or the owner of the shop, to make sure their space is cleaned up in front? This has to be done for them? I can't see that. You have to respect the taxpayers' dollars, folks.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Poole.
when they come back with the final proposal for this, and they ask for the money, please make a case that justifies $100,000 worth of work. That's really what this is about, and she does have a point. I clean the sidewalk in front of my house, and I recognize all of the lofty things that they talked about in there makes some sense. I recognize it makes great sense in places, as I said before, that have problems. We need some details so that citizens at least think they're getting their money's worth, because quite frankly, their city's not that dirty. And if they're gonna paint a lot of light poles, there were some things in there that I thought made some sense that could possibly justify our putting some money into it, but she does have a point. With regard, just in general, I'd like to say too, I'm not sure I don't know anything about this marketing plan, or whatever it is, if there is some change. If we didn't approve it, then it's not a change. And if somebody is doing something that's attached to our contract, and our attorney can talk about that if it does come to that it follows the same laws for disclosure as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anything about it, so if you've got something to add to what the question was about that, added that contract, we need to say what it is, and anything that's attached to our contract, I think follows the same laws of disclosure. You can't hide behind they gave the money to somebody else, if that happened.
I'll send you the email.
So,
Okay. Anyone else present wishing to address the commission?
Sorry for a third time there, Mr. Mayor, but sometimes you gotta do that. Tim Schwanger, 362 Sheffield Way. Lengthy discussion on the compromise for the basketball courts at Orlando Pace Park. That's good to see, a little bit of, talking there going on. I'm here to ask for a compromise also on the Paper District Marina, the issue of fishing inside the marina. You've probably all got the emails, sent some pictures, some ideas right along with it.
Schwager, if I may,
Yes.
The signs are gone.
Okay, I haven't been down, so, that's great. What has the decision been made then as far as fishing, like no fishing on the docks?
Well, I know the signs are down. I know Mr. Whoopser and staff have been in discussion with the operators. It was just a misstep. We appreciate the polite feedback that we received, and that I'm certain that they would not allow fishing on the docks.
Correct, correct.
That would be inconsistent with the use of that as a semi-transit marina, since those are leased out. But where the boundaries are gonna be drawn, if any, I don't know. I think it's an ongoing discussion.
Okay. Yeah, it's all, it's all about compromise. And again, I love Facebook. I mean, you talk about Google, Facebook's even better because you get that conversation going. And there's been some misinformation about, people fishing on the docks, and that, as far as I know, that's not happening. A lot of times we'd like to say, well, this city's not allowing it, so we shouldn't allow it either. Some of those cities that were mentioned actually do allow fishing inside their marinas as long as it's not on the docks themselves. Same way with Battery Park. There's been discussion about Battery Park has a sign on the fence that says no fishing inside in the marina. But that's rarely enforced. Beyond that sign, there's no fencing, and it's rarely enforced. It's enforced when there's people that get out of hand, and we have that. That's going to happen. Okay, but typically it doesn't get enforced as long as you behave yourself. As a matter of fact, I've had security from Battery Park come out and check on me when I was fishing on the inside, and their first question was, are you catching any fish? Okay? My question to them was, am I okay fishing here? And they said, yeah, as long as you behave yourself, take your garbage with you when you leave, you're perfectly fine. So hopefully, again, if signs go up through the city this time, that there is some kind of compromise to allow fishermen to continue to be able to use that facility. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Terribly long. Can we go straight into it?
Mr. Chairman, I forgot one thing that I should mention. It's a safety concern that was brought to me. We have Sports Force, beautiful, it's active and they're using it. But a resident told me that there are children walking from Sawmill with their bats and things down the side of the road. And so we need to do something to address that safety concern, because sooner or later, some kid's gonna get hit walking down the road. I went out myself to check it out, and sure enough, there are some kids with their bat on, and they don't know the difference. They're haphazardly walking back to Sawmill or to food or what have you. And so we're gonna have to create something to address that, or perhaps Cedar Point or the operators can do something to alleviate that safety concern. I know that we can't build a sidewalk right away, but we need to do something in the interim to make it safe for kids. That's a pretty
Technically,
fast.
it's not our property.
Truly
It's
is
not our
not.
jurisdiction, but if we build that pathway, then we can answer.
Well,
Yes, Mr.
It should
Chairman,
be cool.
that issue came about because Sports Force has already opened and determined that they don't have sufficient parking. So parking for Sports Force overflow is at Sawmill Creek. And you're correct, they don't get to the city limits, so it's
They
not
don't
our
get to the city limits, but they get to our neighbors and our partners.
Sure.
And so perhaps the city manager could communicate with them just to let them know what our residents are seeing and let them know that we don't want kids to be harmed by walking down there, so. Yeah. All right.
Okay, we will have an executive session, and we will not have a recess so that we can get out of here.